business, we have one item on the agenda, Mr. DiMartino, who's currently muted.
Hello. Okay. We've, with a very hard work of the ladies in the office, mostly Barbara and Tina, we have decreased our list of people who don't let us in to get meter readings significantly, but we still have a sizable amount of penalties that are being sent to residences and residents, or residences as the case may be. Some are vacant. And that's the idea of them was to wake people up and, hey, let us get in the building. But some of them had let this go way out. I think that's a 16. There's a 16 tax title. There's maybe I'm not sure if it's a 9 or a 90 tax title. Like 90 is hard to, but from Mary's worksheet. And what I'd like to do, I'm not sure even Mary can deal with how we deal with these balances if we want to do anything, but all we want is get a good meter reading. There are sometimes circumstances that people don't want us in, whatever. And although we don't like to have meter pits, they're not, it's easier to get in the house and look at a meter than reaching a pit. There's new meter pit technology that makes them pretty easy to deal with. And I'm thinking we tell these people, hey, we'll give you one more shot, or we need to get a good reading from your property. We're gonna put a meter pit in just before the curb shut off, and you're gonna pay for it, and tough, and then we'll have a meter reading and we'll stop sending you penalties. So they're actually gonna benefit overall, but let them put the money up to pay for the thing. So that's just, and this doesn't have to happen right away. We wouldn't do it until spring or summer anyway, but something to put an end to this, because these massive, people are just not paying not even looking at that water bill apparently, let it go to the lien or to their mortgage. Some of them are substantial funds. And even when they're not being liened, when they connect, and we show a billing in the account of $13,000-$14,000, and then we abate it as soon as they let us connect. So it's sort of a fake revenue number too. So so Mary, you may want to chime in.
Okay. Mr. Connor, would you like me to just sort of go through some of the notes that I took?
I appreciate the notes, but I do want someone to comment why we're going to abate any of this.
So may I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Please.
So the question I have, can we get the sheriff's department involved to serve any kind of warrant that would allow us to enter into these? Can we check with legal to find out if we can get a sheriff to, at least where they're ignoring us? We need to do something. And we obviously, I read we can't shut their water off, but there's no reason why we can't get a sheriff or somebody involved to knock on their door and serve them in some way to let us gain access. Can we talk about that? I don't know what the legalities are, but I would certainly like to pull in legal or the sheriff's department to see what could be done. Because I don't believe we should be abating either, but I'd like at least to go down, and sending another letter is not going to do any good. So we need some alternative. So let's get the sheriff's department involved.
Well, the issue of abatement certainly is the board's, but we can talk with KP Law if the board wanted to find out what legal ramifications or what legal action we can take, as Don is suggesting.
Yeah, or take over the house. If we have to, there's no reason for them to be ignoring us the way they are. We're trying to help them out.
Agreed. Mary, your thoughts?
So I guess part of my issue is that the reason I went through these accounts and took a cursory look at a large number of them was to get a sense of whether they are responsive to us in any way, shape, or form. And there's a number of accounts here who appear to be just habitual properties that habitually ignore mail from the town of Bellingham. So their water charges are not the only charges that remain delinquent. In a number of cases, there are real estate charges and there are even motor excise charges. And so I don't know that sending a letter would be worth anybody's time because they're clearly ignoring every letter. And we send lots of them. We send quarterly tax bills. We send quarterly water and sewer bills. We send notifications. We send demands. We send liens. We send lots and lots of correspondence that they simply are choosing to ignore. So there needs to be some sort of stronger mechanism that we can employ, whether it's the sheriff's office or some other means. I guess I have a question for the board, and this is just sort of, you know, my lack of familiarity with the board's decision on not shutting off water. And I know that that's an extreme action to take, but there certainly are a number of communities who do in fact take that approach when they're faced with situations like this. So is that something that the town has informally adopted that process, or is there a mechanism in place that actually prevents us here in the town of Bellingham from shutting off water, even for a short period of time, simply to allow us to get into the property?
Well, we're not going to do that without making sure the Board of Health knows what's going on, because we actually, it's in our regulations that we can shut people off for delinquency or such. But if we do so, we haven't pursued it in a while, but yeah, the Board of Health is the one that would come up and say, you can't do that. So if the Board of Health is on board with us shutting the water off, maybe we'll just proceed and do that. But that's, you know, I would not do it without having the selectmen discuss it with the Board of Health. I wouldn't recommend it unless that's cleared.
I think part of why I'm suggesting that we take some sort of stronger action is because, Dawn, you did read that right. That is a $90,000 balance of outstanding property taxes on one particular property. It does date back a number of years in addition to these outstanding water charges. And so, you know, we now then face the situation where the town is providing services to every resident in the community, and yet they are not paying for the services that they're receiving, whether it's utility services, public safety, education, whatever the case may be. So, you know, we sort of have thankfully this is a relatively small list. And Barbara did a fantastic job putting it together. But there's still, you know, some problem properties, and our goal is to make sure that we get that meter replaced so that we can operate our utility operations successfully. And so we need to figure out a way to make that happen.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm in favor of any severe action. So if the action is we can shut their water off, we have to go to the Board of Health, then I'm absolutely in favor, especially the one with, you know, the one that continue at $99,000. Something needs to be done. We can't allow the town to be taken advantage of. So if it's we start with talking to the Board of Health and shutting the water off, or we go to the Sheriff's Department and speak with KP Law to find out what could be done legally. I'm absolutely in favor. I think we've acted in this, we voted toward things like this in the past, and I think we need to be consistent. If anything, I like to be consistent.
Agree with Don.
We'll get a hold of KP and put together a strategy.
That's good.
How do the other board members feel? Not that I'm trying to take over Mr. Connor's role here, but is everyone else in agreement?
Yeah, I agree, Don and,
Okay.
and Michael. I just got a quick question from a revenue logistical point of view. These fees and these penalties, are they in our projected revenue for the water enterprise?
Yeah, they're billed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're billed.
So, all right, so any abatements we have,
It's also in our regulations or policies that if they
Okay.
are getting penalties and before they're liened during that fiscal year and they connect, then that's when you'll see a request for abatement. It's like that, you know, we're not trying to hit you up for big bucks. We just want to get the meter right.
okay,
But that's only, you know, these numbers, the numbers that are, you know, tens of thousands are several years.
Right.
Compound, but they're several years. So that it would not be entirely taken off.
all right,
So,
so.
and to that,
Go ahead, Mayor.
I'm sorry, to that point, I just want to clarify that once a charge, whether it's a penalty or a user charge, once that is leaned over to the real estate bill, if it remains delinquent, can then be taken as part of the tax title or the tax lien that we put on a property. Once it goes into tax title status and we've recorded that tax lien, we cannot abate those charges. If we do, we will have invalidated the tax taking. So we
Okay.
cannot do that.
So yeah, so at that point every year, which I think is November usually, Mary? At that point.
It's in December because it goes out in the Q3 tax bill. Yeah.
So at that point, you know, if they have up until then to, you know, get off the list and get abated, but it's usually you're talking about, you know, maybe $600 or $800 by then.
Right.
So these people that are way off the deep end haven't done anything for years.
Mhm.
And
All
it
right, thank you.
compounds.
So one thing I guess troubles me is 90-something thousand dollars is a lot. Why wasn't it on our radar sooner? And maybe it was. And the second question is whether some of these people are, I mean, I've heard stories of people saying, well, you know what, I'm 85 years old and you know what, take the freaking house when I'm done, they can have it and I'm just not paying till I'm gone. I mean, how long have these people owned these houses? Not that that's a deciding factor. I just think that may be some of the background to it.
Well, we have gotten aggressive with the taking. So once we get to the point, as you know, we have a couple of properties that are coming up for auction. So we go through the tax taking process. Once these numbers get up, we don't hold our tax title attorneys back at all as far as pursuing these. So as the charges come up, they're leaned every year. As the water and sewer delinquencies that come up, they're leaned, and once they're leaned, they're accruing interest along with the taxes.
Okay. Kelly and Cindy, are you okay with the course of action prescribed?
Absolutely. 100%. Yep, definitely.
Okay, Dawn.
Okay, thank you. That's sort of, that'll make Barbara happy. She wants to go after them with sticks and pitchforks. And
Love it.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Oh, by the way, great job on the snow removal by you guys.
I think so too. Outstanding.
100%. Really.
we've
Amazing.
got a few complaints. I think we had a pretty even balance, 3 or 4 complaints and 3 or 4 congratulations from residents' email. So it's.
I just can't imagine the complaints. I mean, even
Complaints were
even High Street, as difficult as that road is, was down to pavement at 6 o'clock last night. So I was really surprised. Outstanding.
People,
Thank you. Appreciate it. The guys appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, great. The rest of the agenda, any old business? Any new business?
I just had one item. We've
Yep.
got our budget hearing on February 20th. We'll have the DPW, police, fire, library in. Mary obviously will be in a position to go over the financial offices. I can handle a lot of the municipal, but if there are any budgets as you get your books and you're going through them, please let me know if there's any. We'll be Zooming, obviously. Some of the departments will want to come in. Some will join us virtually. But if you would like any to join us, please let me know, and we'll make sure that we have them available. And I know Mary's on, and she would tell you, schedule time with her if you'd like to go over any of the budget information. And obviously I'm available as well if you'd like to go over any of that before the budget hearing on the 20th.
We're already scheduled. Yeah.
Dennis, I just have one quick question. When will we be getting the books for the school department for their budget?
I don't know, Mary, do we typically get budget books for the
Mhm.
selectmen from the school department? I don't think we do.
No, we don't.
Get their books, Kelly. The way that works is their budget is transmitted to the selectmen, and the selectmen forward it to the finance committee. Is what the charter calls for. We don't review their budget.
Okay.
Okay. You're on the charter review committee, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we can change it if you want.
Is
Yeah,
it possible to get one if I would like to?
I can request one for you. I'm sure that Mr. Morano would get us one.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
anyone
for what
else
it's worth,
would,
the principals went a week ago Saturday, and the individual departments went this past Saturday. So everything's been presented to the school committee. They have their meeting tomorrow night, with maybe just rolling it up.
if I get one, I can make additional copies. I'm sure you can transmit it to me, and we'll get that out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're
hey,
welcome.
Dennis, is there any way to get this electronically or?
That's what I'm going to ask
Oh,
Peter to
okay,
do, is
because I'd
send it,
hate
and
to
then
see us print all
I'll
that
print a
stuff out.
copy or two, but I'll send it out as well. But Kelly, if you'd like it, if you'd like me to print one out, I can do that or send it to you electronically.
Electronically is totally fine.
Okay, great.
Any new business? Hearing none, we've satisfied the agenda for this evening. We are going into executive session. We need to take roll call.
And that is for the purchase of land and to discuss contract negotiations. We'll have no further discussion or public announcement for the board for the public after the executive session.
Kelly, will you poll the board for the record?
I'm going to poll the board now to go into executive session. Mrs. Grant, would you like to go? Mrs. McNulty,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
and Mr. Spencer.
Yeah, the guy you always forget. Yes.
I know, I didn't forget you this time.
Your internet connection is better today, Dan, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
It just doesn't work on conservation committee meetings, I guess.
Doesn't sound like you're underwater this time.
I'm using my phone, that's why. All right.
Well, that'll cover the agenda. We'll log off and go to the next meeting. Mary, we are on tomorrow for 11 o'clock, correct? You and I, with Cindy and Dennis?
I'm going to call that if it's bad weather, I'm not coming because I've got Kevin's little
I'll pick you up.
stink box of a car. Okay. All right.
Mike's car is a beast.
Yes.
Put a plow on that thing, Michael.
All right.
right.
See you in a minute.
Can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second. First and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. See ya.